Welcome back to Talk to the Experts, the insurance experts today. Dave Arnold from Campbell Haliburton Insurance and Dennis Cookson, manager of the Insurance Institute of Saskatchewan. Our theme today is auto extension insurance. I'm ever glad we're talking about this. I'm going to Greece in a few weeks' time, and I need answers. So I'll get to my own personal questions here in just a moment. But Dave, Campbell and Haliburton, the door is always open if you're a new customer or a newcomer to Saskatchewan. There are insurance needs. You got to check yourself, don't you?
Absolutely, and especially with vehicles as well. So if you're coming in with a driver's license from another province or another country, the ladies at the front desk can walk you through that process. And then, getting things in place, making sure you've got everything correct for your auto extension policies. And Saskatchewan is different than most other provinces in that you get the basic coverage with your license plates. It's, bare bones. For the typical vehicle, $700 deductible for collision, $700 for comprehensive, and you get $200,000 in liability. Now, the key with the auto extension is that if nothing else, to get that liability amount up. You want to get to the point where you have some family security coverage in there. And that's what really gives me the heebie-jeebies, is that liability for people, especially when people are going somewhere else, even to another province in Canada, let alone the States.
It's no longer just your basic package that's going to carry you through. You really have to analyze your needs and what you do for a living as well, and holiday too. All right, I'm going to get back to these questions off our Facebook page here because we've got several, and someone's going to win an iPad at the end of the show here too. We're going to make a random draw that Dave will announce. J.N. Magnus asks, do I need extra car insurance when I drive to the United States?
Absolutely. I cannot stress this enough. If you're going down into the States, you absolutely have to have that extra liability. We are finding that people are suing more, they're more successful in lawsuits, and they're getting bigger settlements. And we're seeing more of it all the time. So if you're going down to the States on a regular basis, even that $1 million probably isn't enough. Like, it doesn't hurt to have that extra liability. Kick it up to $5 million while you're gone. Yeah. So you've got that protection.
Can you turn that kind of coverage off and on in an insurance policy, or is that like something that you negotiate after a year or something? How does that work?
You can make changes to your policy at any time. So if you want to go into your broker's office, hey, I'm going on vacation, I need that extra coverage, I'm going down to Vegas for a week and I want to rent a vehicle.
Once a year type of thing for a couple of weeks maybe.
Yeah, I don't get the Greece trips, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're going down to the States on a regular basis, you can leave it at that $5 million all the time. That doesn't hurt anything. And if you're driving even into Alberta, people sue more there as well. So it's something that we really have to be aware of.
Good conversation to have with whoever you're dealing with. Krista Marie is asking, do I have the coverage that I really need at the same time, maximize my savings, and possibly get some discounts? Oh, everyone likes a discount.
Never hurts to have discounts on your insurance, right? That's a conversation you definitely want to have with your broker. There are a lot of different ways that you can structure your insurance to get the maximum savings. If you've got a good driving record, you're getting a lot of those already. But that's really a good conversation to have with your broker and really for anything in your insurance. Like if you have questions about, what is covered, what's not covered, what am I supposed to do? Don't be afraid to go into your broker's office, sit them down and have that conversation with them. That's what they're there for. So take advantage of that resource.
Dennis Cookson, my guest. Our theme is auto extension insurance. Brandy Stradesky. I have no auto policy. Does it follow me to a rental vehicle? We talked about going stateside. We've kind of touched a bit on this. As I said, I'm going to Greece, and I have to get my insurance there as far as I can tell from what you're telling me.
Yeah, so your auto insurance in Saskatchewan only applies within Canada, the U.S., and ports in between. So for you going to Greece, you wouldn't have any coverage with your auto policy. So with your auto policy, it can extend to a rental vehicle. It has to be a vehicle that is similar to what you have on your policy. So if you've got a half-ton or a car on your policy and you're trying to rent a 5-ton truck, that's not going to work. But the coverages that you do have on your extension policy will translate over to your rental vehicle, not your plates, just your extension.
When I get there, what are the sort of questions, if you could pick one or two questions you should always ask if I am now, say I'm going to Greece, what are the questions I want to ask about my coverage then?
How much do I have and does it apply? Are really going to be the two first ones you should be asking.
How do I know how much I should have?
Well, part of that is going to be the discussion with your broker.
Yeah.
When you're traveling, if you're dealing with the rental rental car company, perhaps that's a question that they can answer for you.
Okay.
But don't be afraid to do a little
Deep
bit
conversation,
of research.
perhaps, that you really need to talk to who you're dealing with.
Well, for foreign countries, do the research online, I'm afraid. Look at those travel blogs, those types of things. Whether they're working or traveling there, they'll have experienced advice that they can give. And I'll be honest, if you ask one of our brokers about auto insurance in Greece, you'll get a blank stare.
Yeah.
There's so many places that you can go where you don't even need to rent a vehicle, right? The public transportation systems are so advanced that
Definitely.
maybe you can avoid it.
All right, let's get to another question here from Nicole. Are there any discounts for auto packs if no claims made after a few years?
Yes. So on your plates, SGI has what they call their safe driver recognition system. So every year that you go without having any claims or convictions, you get 2% off of your plates. On your auto pack, you typically get a claims-free discount right away. Some companies will wait a couple of years before they give that to you. But if you haven't had any claims, haven't had any accidents, you can typically get a claims-free discount on your insurance.
Scott Landry, if you lend your vehicle to someone and they get into an accident with it, but it just wasn't their fault, does your insurance cover any possible medical insurance the driver you lent it to may require? Oh, that's a good one.
So if the other person's at fault, it's typically their liability coverage that'll get used for any medical expenses. Now, if you've lent your vehicle to somebody and they have your permission to drive it, your coverage can extend to them as well.
Kathy Campbell, are there any exclusions in this insurance policy that I should be aware of? And can you give me an example of when the exclusion would happen?
That's one that you definitely want to talk to your broker about. I mean, there's the usual ones, things like driving under the influence, using the vehicle, in a race, things like that. But one of the big ones that we typically see on auto insurance is people using the vehicle either outside of its plate class or outside of its intended use. And we're seeing more of that in Saskatchewan with companies like Uber coming in, that if you're planning on using your vehicle as an Uber vehicle, you have to let your insurance company know.
Brian, he has a good one. Brian Peter, he's asking, does my auto policy cover my rental car when my car is actually getting fixed?
So that will depend on if you have any other vehicles. So if it's another vehicle that is in your household that you're using, then no. If it's your main vehicle and it's in the shop because of a claim, you can use your extension policy to cover your rental.
Isn't there something too when you're somewhere and you rent a vehicle, there's a bit of a snag you could run into if you're not covered in regards to, okay, if you get in an accident with that vehicle you rented, then they can also hit you with a fee on top of that. What do they call it? A daily downtime? Yeah,
and you do see that all the time because they basically assume that you're renting the vehicle out through that time period.
So what do I do in that case?
So you can get stuck with the repair costs plus basically you've rented the vehicle for while it's being repaired. So if you have that extension policy, that can extend to the rental vehicle, and it's a great idea to have loss of use.
Okay, good to know. Dave Arnold from Campbell Haliburton Insurance, Dennis Cookson, manager of the Insurance Institute of Saskatchewan, and we've had a lot of great questions. We've put everyone's name in a hat here, Dave, and what are you giving away here again, an iPad?
Yes, we're giving away an Apple iPad.
That's a nice prize. Go ahead. Stick your hand in that entry barrel there, and
our winner is, move them around, Victoria Wong. Congratulations.
Nice. We'll be in touch with you, Victoria, and congratulations. Enjoy that new iPad. Well, it is spring, moving into summer here rather quickly, Dave. It's one of those opportunities that everyone hits the road and maybe doesn't look at what they're covered. You're too busy with the kids and planning the vacation. Take a moment, right, and just have one more look at that insurance policy.
Yes. Even if it's just out of province, talk to your broker.
Dennis, it's been a pleasure hearing from you, too. I never knew there was an institute of insurance in this province until you. You're my first to ever have told me about such an institute. I envision you on a ginormous hill somewhere in Saskatchewan in a giant fancy glass building. Is that the case?
No, unfortunately not. We are downtown Regina.
Okay.
But as the Institute, nationally, we've been around since 1899 providing.
And that's why all the knowledge comes from you like it did here and talk to the experts. I thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
David, thank you.
You bet.